What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan. Welcome back to the channel. And we have a pretty big game coming up this weekend against Spurs. So United are visiting Ange Postecoglou's new Spurs side. First away fixture of the season. And a lot of concerns for United, their fans, and a lot of selection decisions that Eric Ten Hag is going to have to make off the back of that really poor Wolves display. A lot of players potentially playing themselves out of the team. Did some players manage to play their way back? What's going to be the predicted 11? How does Ange Postecoglou typically like to play? How are United going to have to react to that? All that and a little bit more. So let's get into it. So United have their first away game of the season at the London Stadium against Ange Postecoglou's new Tottenham side. He's been quoted as saying in an interview that he is trying to fundamentally change the way they play. Now, what is the way Ange Postecoglou likes to play? He likes to play quite fast. He transitions quite well. Levy brought him in because he has a fast attacking style of play. And he played a very interesting style of football up in Celtic. It was quite fast. He won a lot of trophies up there. He was quite dominant. One thing he likes to do is to really utilize his attacking fullbacks. That is nothing new, really. All the kind of top managers are looking to do that, getting their fullbacks into the inside channels and to start moving in from those wings into space. So typically what Ange Postecoglou will do is he likes to have his wide players up top. So this would be the front three of Kulusevski, Heung-min Son on the left, Kulusevski on the right, and Richarlison through the middle. What Postecoglou will typically do is have the likes of Son and Kulusevski push out wide. This is going to stretch United's defense quite a bit. It's going to open up some of those inside channels as well. And he likes his fullbacks to then take in some of those midfield positions, converting his style from, a 4-3-3 into a 3-2-2-3, or what can be a box midfield that Arteta, Pep Guardiola, Klopp, and a lot of managers that want to try and dominate the midfield and overload those central positions. So if you've got a three-man midfield, they'll have an extra player in there and be able to control the ball in the middle of the park. Why that's an issue for United is what we saw against Wolves was United's midfield was essentially non-existent. Bruno Fernandes playing very advanced, Mason Mount playing very advanced, despite the fact he said his favourite position is playing number 8, which is typically a box-to-box type of role, and him being brought in for his defensive contributions being a lot higher than what Eriksen's wear in a United shirt, which, to be honest, are almost zero. But Mason Mount's defensive contribution and his ability to come back and help Casemiro was missing against Wolves. Casemiro was regularly quite isolated, one man surrounded by 3-4 Wolves players who were able to just bypass United's midfield very, very easily. So that connection between defense and attack for United is still something that we need to badly work on. That glue, that link up, which is essentially what a number 8 is supposed to do. That is Mason Mount's job, is to connect defense and attack through box to box running. And connecting those two things, providing support for Casemiro in defense, providing support to Fernandes in attack. While Fernandes tends to drift out more right, Mount certainly drifts out more left. So they've got those two spaces to themselves to support Garnacho and Antony in attack. Fernandes isn't really a fast player. He doesn't play close to United's box. He doesn't play as a deep-lying midfielder. He has in the past. He's done reasonably well there, but it's quite clear that his position is going to be as a more advanced player in a kind of number 10 role, right behind the striker. Now, what this means is if Spurs do want to overload that three-man midfield with an extra fullback coming in, who that will be, who knows. whether it comes in from the left or whether it comes in from the right. But what it does mean is that United are going to need reinforcements in the middle of that park to help Casemiro. Not only is Casemiro outnumbered, but his form was quite poor in the Wolves game in that his legs looked very, very slow. So getting an extra bit of energy in that midfield wouldn't go astray. I wouldn't be surprised to potentially see McTominay start alongside Casemiro just to kind of bolster that midfield. Does that mean he drops Mount? It's unlikely. Does he drop Fernandes? Unlikely. But given Casemiro struggles in the middle of the park, I would not be against having McTominay in there beside him to just be a little bit more disruptive, put a little bit more energy, play more box to box, play a little bit more in the defensive role than on the attacking role, and see how we get on. I don't think Ten Hag is going to do that, but the midfield battle it's where it's at for most games, but it's especially important now for this game. How are United going to line up? Onana clearly going to start. Did save United's bacon on a couple of occasions against Wolves. Made some great saves with his legs. Got lucky with the outside of a post and was extremely lucky not to concede a penalty. I do like a dominant goalkeeper to take control of their box, to come out for balls, smash into attacking players, claim balls up high, buy those fouls where you can. But he was very, very lucky not to have conceded a penalty last week, so much so that the Premier League match game officials board has taken the referees, anyone connected with that VAR decision, have been taken off refereeing duties this weekend in the Premier League, meaning they're probably going to be pushed down into the Championship. So mistakes made, mistakes recognised. Onana really got away with that one, and I hope Ten Hag has had a word in his ear that aggression is great. We brought him in for that all-action, bombastic kind of style that was lacking from De Gea, but one thing De Gea would not do was what Onana did yesterday and concede a needless penalty. So hopefully he will have his thinking cap on a little bit more and playing with a little bit more sense, but who knows? He's an entertaining keeper. In the defensive positions, Lisandro Martinez, Lisha, is not fully believed to be fit enough to play this game. There is a bit of a race to make sure that he's going to be fit to start this game. In his absence, Lindelof, I'm sure, will come in to partner Rafael Varane. Martinez, obviously a big miss, has a very good relationship with Onana from their time at Ajax, so that relationship would help Ten Hag's plans for how to develop our team, how to develop transitions, how to play out from the back a little bit better. I don't think Lindelof is especially good at that. Varane he's one of the best ball playing centre backs in the game. So I think a lot of the ball is going to be going to Varane. Fullbacks, I think it's quite clear Aaron Wan-Bissaka gets the nod at right back. He played reasonably okay against Wolves. He was only a standout, really, because everyone else was so poor. Shaw clearly going to be getting the starting berth on the left. However, he has a huge improvement to make from that Wolves game. He was very quiet, looked isolated, looked a bit lazy, a bit tired, wasn't really getting in on the action as much as he has been in games past, especially last season. Middle of the park, I think we're going to see Casemiro, Mount, and Fernandes again. I think that's the trio that is going to be cemented as the regular starting trio, at least for now, until we start signing players like Amrabat. We're, of course, waiting for some exits to allow that to happen, to facilitate those moves. But the three in the middle of the park at the moment, it's quite clear that it's going to be Casemiro, Mount, and Fernandes. I think Mount, or I hope Mount, has been given specific instructions to play more around the circle, to not drift out left, to not be linking up with the left-hand wide player and getting into those advanced positions too much, to leave that to Fernandes. Mind you, Fernandes is going to be dealing with building up play from the right. He can do it, of course, to the left, and Mount is obviously going to be there as well to help build up play. But really, Mount's job is to be that connector. He will need to put in a far better performance than he did against Wolves. His statistics were damning. His performance was very, very poor. Turned in the type of performance that his detractors prior to kickoff were all too aware of from his Chelsea days. This is a player that has won Player of the Season twice at Chelsea during seasons where they've won big silverware. He has been a very valuable player in a team littered with talent, but his form did wane. He does seem to play in fits and starts. He'll do well for 3, 4, 5 games in a row, then get off the boil. A little bit like Fernandes at times, actually, but hopefully they can alternate when that form picks up and disappears. For it to disappear from both of them at the same time would be very dangerous indeed. So I think Mount will be tasked with helping out Casemiro a lot more than he would be helping out Fernandes. Having said that as well, I do believe the front three is also where important decisions need to be made. Garnacho, having failed his audition last week for a starting berth, he's done so well. I don't remember Garnacho really playing a poor game before. He's had quieter games. He's had far more impactful games, but he's never played as badly as he did last week, and was very clearly, visibly annoyed to be taken off and replaced with Jadon Sancho, and of course Mount coming off and making way for Eriksen. Eriksen and Sancho did make a big change when they came on. So could you see Mount being dropped for Eriksen? Possibly. Could you see McTominay coming in to partner Casemiro? Possibly. I think Eriksen is more likely to come in as a replacement for that regular three. However, I think the Mount, Fernandes, Casemiro trio in the middle of the park is pretty much locked in. Having said that, with Mount needing to come back and help Casemiro in a more defensive way, I could see this as the opportunity for Garnacho to be put on the bench, Marcus to be put out to his more familiar left-hand side role where he favours. He did not play that well through the middle. It's not a position he's overly comfortable with. He's done okay there in the past, but his favoured position is on the left. Given how Garnacho played and also how Sancho played when he came on, I can see Sancho playing a false nine position, maybe pulling back a little bit more, playing a lot deeper, not being so much of a target man, so we can get that extra man into midfield to help out with the attacking play that Fernandes is going to be helping set up. This will then allow Mount to come back in a more defensive position, to play a little bit deeper, to help out with Casemiro, provide a little bit of energy, speed, and harrying in the middle of the park. So if Sancho does come back with Fernandes and Mount does come back with Casemiro, that will then be United's box midfield of four players that will be there to combat the inevitable box midfield that Postecoglou was going to try and initiate, particularly at home to United. So out wide, I do think it's going to be Rashford. I hope that Sancho starts up front as a false nine, playing a little bit deeper. The right-hand side, that's a little more tricky than it has been in the past, with Antony having played as quietly as he did, being quite ineffective. It was quite clear what Wolves wanted to do last week. They played the ball allowed United to play the ball out to Wan-Bissaka because of an overload. They basically wanted to cover every other man on the pitch and have Wan-Bissaka out on the right to force Onana to play the ball out to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because he's the player on the United team probably who has the least amount of ball playing ability. Allowing him to get that ball out to the channel, they could then swarm Wan-Bissaka, who would then be forced to play an over-the-top or long ball out to Antony. If Antony was successful in receiving the ball, he was then pushed out wide and kept on his right foot, which he hates. He is so outrageously one-footed, it's almost comical. Antony wants to do what he always wants to do, which is to take the ball and play it onto his left foot, cut inside, either for a shot or to lay it off to one of the more central players to cross or to shoot. He does like to shoot, but he does not like to stay on his right foot. He is so one-footed, it's crazy, and it's quite clear how players like to play him. Stay deep, stay on his left foot, force him out onto his right, and just push him closer and closer to that byline. Facundo Pellistri is a player that many United fans thought might go out on loan, but given Antony's struggles, Greenwood yet to come back, and Amad Diallo, his future uncertain. Is he going to go out on loan again? Is he going to come back and maybe push for a starting berth? We don't know. But Facundo Pellistri did reasonably well last week when he came on, and I think he could get an opportunity, maybe not to start. Antony, I think Ten Hag will want to maintain confidence with that player and give him another starting berth. But Pellistri is going to push him close for a starting position on the right-hand side. I wouldn't be surprised to see him start there, but I do think it's going to be Antony. So overall, Onana in goal, Wan-Bissaka outright, Shaw left. I think it's going to be Varane and Lindelof in the middle, Mount, Casemiro and Fernandes in that middle three. Sancho as a false nine, Marcus out on the left and Antony on the right, possibly being replaced by Pellistri if his game is a little bit quiet by the half time mark or certainly 60 minutes in. It's going to be a cracker of a game of the weekend, in my opinion, obviously. But it's going to be really, really good. I think Postecoglou is going to come out all guns blazing, try and get some goals. His defense is not as tight as Tottenham defenses have been in the past. So I think he's going to go on the front foot and attack United very much like Wolves did. My prediction for the match, I do think it's going to be 1-1. I think it's going to be a cagey affair. There's not going to be a ton of goals. I could be wrong. There could be defensive lapses. Maybe United's attack will click. They looked a little bit toothless last week, so I think we'll maybe pop a goal away from home. Hopefully we can keep it tight at the back, but I think Postecoglou is going to be on the front foot looking to get a goal. It will be 1-1 in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. If and when that match is over, I'm going to try and get a match review out as soon as possible. If you're still watching this video and you've enjoyed this this content, don't forget to hit that like button. It's so important to content creators to get those likes. Hit subscribe and hit that notification button beside the subscribe button to get immediate notifications when I'm going to be bringing out new content. I should have something out tomorrow after the Spurs game with a reaction and a review of how that match went down. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the match. See you on the next one.